What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris and welcome back to Road to Vostok. Before we crack into the core discussion of this video, I want you to think of your favorite gun to use in video games. Sometimes it's an archetype, like sniper rifles. Sometimes it's more specified, like bullpup ARs. And sometimes it's right down to the make and model of the gun. Ultimately, the thing is, if you do have a favorite gun to use, the moment you find it in a game, you tend to have this moment of fulfillment in finding it. Sometimes it'll be the gun that sticks with you for the rest of your playthrough. Sometimes you put it in a box so you can keep that sucker safe. But either way, there is this moment you as a player will have when you find that gun of preference. In Road to Vostok, there's going to be a lot of looting for us to do. From the various medical conditions to keeping ourselves fed, our guns in top condition, and then the attachments to go on them, modular body armor. But the question is, how much variety will we see in the guns of Road to Vostok? At this point, we've already seen some good variety in the archetypes of Vostok: pistols, shotguns, rifles, and snipers. From top to bottom, we have a Glock 18, an MP5, the RK62, a Remington 870, and the Sacco 85. After that, we got our first look at an endgame weapon, the HK416. And just as an aside here, I really like that the endgame weapons have a modern military look to them. It's not like all endgame weapons have to have this aesthetic, but I'm a huge fan of FDE, so if we could get some more guns in this energy as endgame weapons, I think that's a great way of having a consistent endgame motif. We'll be talking about the HK416 shortly here because this was partly the inspiration for making this video. So, why does weapon variety matter in a hardcore survival FPS game? And I think the perfect examples here are two games that serve as inspiration to RTV. That is Escape from Tarkov and Stalker Anomaly. Tarkov is a game I'm just getting into over the past couple weeks, and man am I sunk in deep. After seeing how much of an inspiration this was to RTV, I knew I had to get familiarized with it. And I'm really glad I did! Tarkov's gunplay is stellar, and it's one we're going to talk about again probably a few more times in regards to Vostok. But the next big thing I've taken away from Tarkov is the sheer amount of weapons you have to choose from. I couldn't find exact numbers, but it's somewhere close to over 70 guns to choose from in the game right now. Whether you're out there scavenging it up with dirt guns or going modern mill tactic and popping deers from 80 kilometers away, there's always something new to try, and with Tarkov's in-depth weapon modification, you pretty much have infinite possibilities on how you will kit out your weapons. There are metas and best weapons, but there's also a huge amount of player choice that you're able to engage in, provided RNGs is on your side with loot and you're able to successfully extract. Now, let's look at Stalker Anomaly. This one is a little bit more of a personal journey of mine, but earlier on this year, I set out to mod Stalker into my idea of the perfect video game. I didn't fully achieve my goal, but I did walk away from it learning a crap ton about what truly makes a game good, at least to me. Building Stalker Anomaly from the roughly blank slate it begins with into an immersive, meaty experience, with roughly 10 times the amount of loot overall. I added everything from foodstuffs to base building to more artifacts, a ton of under the hood stuff like animations, but most importantly, I added 3 huge weapon packs to Stalker Anomaly and brought the overall count of weapons up to 447 in total, give or take a few. Now I know, that's pretty batshit crazy, and yeah it is, but I have to say, the looting experience in Stalker Anomaly that I have now is obscene, unlike any other FPS game in existence, and it's really good to play through. Every enemy presents a new weapon or opportunity. As the procedural difficulty increases, the loot pool expands to such a massive degree. Lethality is maximized due to enemies eventually carrying RPGs, miniguns, and experimental weapons that never actually made it past R&D. Now, I hyperbolized loot to an unfathomable degree in Stalker Anomaly, but my biggest takeaway from it is that adding all these guns and items was an absolutely genius call, and even though I don't have the technical knowledge to perfect my idea, the idea itself was beyond good. So, I'm not saying that Vostok needs to have 500 guns in the game. That's ridiculous. But if a focus is put towards weapon variety within given archetypes, it would be a massive benefit in the long run. As a bit of a takeaway from what I see in other video games, people will always want more, and if you start with a weapon pool that's too shallow in terms of weapon variety, you lessen how long people will be able to refreshingly engage with your gunplay. Again, to look at what I did with Stalker, I have probably too many AKs in the game, something close to 60 variants of AKs, but it turns around and becomes a good thing in a funny way. All this variety gives me an AK for every stage of the game. It gives me visual variety with skins, it gives me more expensive tactical options and less expensive beater AKs, old world AKs, and AKs that are futuristically designed. And I cannot stress how much of a good thing this is. Now, again, this is hyperbolized to heck and entirely just my opinion here. But with Road to Vostok, we're going to be seeing traders in the game, and a big thing Tarkov and Stalker have in common are having traders that expand their inventory and open up new purchases as you progress with them or their faction. And this is something that, again, is really benefited by having a solid item list for them to sell their wares from. It'd be really cool to someday see a similar trading progression in RTV, allowing the game world to progress with you loot-wise in more ways than just one. Of course, being balanced for the sake of progression, so you can't just stick it out with a trader and get the end game stuff, but still so you can take the time and invest it towards something and maybe have some unique opportunities along the way. With Tarkov's massive weapon variety and in-depth customization, it provides the visual variety to back up its excellent gunplay, and in Stalker Anomaly through a personal endeavor by adding obscene amounts of items and more specifically guns to the game, I brought the quality of the game up to such a crazy degree in terms of combat variety and loot variety. In any sort of long-lasting FPS game, quantity becomes quality. And you can instill quality into your quantity much easier than the other way around. Now, I know we've been talking heavy already, but honestly, it's part of why I find making content on Road to Vostok so refreshing and fascinating. So, if you're enjoying the video or agree with what I'm saying, consider hitting the thumbs up button to show your support. But now, let's turn back to the HK416 that was shown to us just recently and how it was developed, because I think it was a great approach, and one that will pay off massively as time goes on over the years. The 416 was used from external assets Auntie had collected, had custom shading applied to it, and was then spruced up texture-wise. And this is a really good approach for a solo developer to take, or even a small team. This is what I'd like to call curation versus creation in the world of video games. Sometimes the idea of using pre-made assets can be shunned or shamed on, but I think if the content is curated well enough time is put into making sure the choice is the absolute right choice, and then further effort is applied to make that right choice the perfect choice, then this is just as good, if not better, than the process of personally created weapons. Personal creation takes a serious amount of time, technical focus, and artistic dedication. Highly efficient curation takes less time, offering a pragmatic approach to development when you're creating a bunch of complicated systems, like what RTV is doing. Adding boating, fishing, and base customization on top of heavily simulated features of character movement and weapon handling, in order for those to receive the focus they deserve to be winning features, then time needs to be taken from somewhere else, and again, with an efficient solution curating weapons, purchasing the right assets, then customizing them to fit the game and have a bit of a personal touch, this is the best result of having the largest weapon pool possible to benefit Vostok. Jeez. You knew it had to happen at least at some point when talking about Stalker and Road to Vostok at the same time. For years and years to come, all while having the ability to focus on these complicated methods of development and really ensure their success. But that's entirely just my takeaway from it all, and what really matters is if this lines up with Auntie's vision for RTV. If so, then that is beyond excellent. We're still in the formative stages of the game, so it's hard to know what the plans are for weapons that might be a bit far off from where we're at, but I think this sort of conversation is really good to get going in the early run. But now, we can't have a video talking about how weapon variety would benefit the game without talking about some weapons that would be cool to see in Road to Vostok. And if you have any gun ideas that you'd like to see in RTV, please put them in the comments down below. I'd like to get some solid options for Auntie to look into from us here. I'm keeping myself to just 3 to keep the runtime lower on the video, but I love putting out ideas to the games I enjoy, so we'll more than likely have another video focused on guns I'd like to see in the future. The first gun is pretty much the #1 gun I'd love to see. The Sword International Mark 18 Mjolnir. This is just a beautiful gun, and it lines up with what could be the endgame weapons of RTV very nicely in its design. And being chambered in 338 Lapua Magnum, it would be a very powerful endgame sniper, with expensive ammo and upkeep costs, but just being the one-shot sniper you'll probably need at Vostok itself. Next is a newer gun from Finland, the Sako M23. This one's a battle rifle, and again, really lines up with what the endgame will be looking like. Being a darker green, it would differ from the typical FDE, but still match the endgame look and feel. And actually being from Finland, I feel it's a really good fit for the game. Chambered in 7.62, it'd be a great use for a probably pretty surplus ammunition on Vostok's side. My home country of Canada actually just picked this up as our own sniper rifle too for our army, so that's pretty neat. Speaking of the Vostok side, one of my favorite Russian guns is the Shak 12, called the Ash 12 in a lot of video games. Designed to be efficiently deadly in close quarters combat, this would be perfect for more urbanized maps. Having full auto for taking down heavy armor and semi-auto for precision, the best way to define this gun is a one-shot stop in almost any range, but being designed for urban close quarters, it's lightweight and very ergonomic. Chambered in 12.7x55, its rounds are the Russian equivalent of 338 Lapua. Purely looking at endgame options, I think these 3 guns would be really good guns to work towards and find in Road to Vostok. So let me know, what do you think of weapon variety in Road to Vostok? Again, we might be having these discussions a little early here, but I think they're fun to have still. We have a new work in progress video coming up where we'll hopefully see some more of the HK416 if things are good to go for it. And I'll be covering that all on my channel here, but it'll also be coming from the dev's YouTube. So please go check out his channel and subscribe so you can stay tuned for everything Vostok related. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.